my question of the day, and make sure to watch further into the video because I'm going to show you exactly how it was done. But my question of the day was and is, were you one of the people that wanted to know just exactly how I laid this little brick area? And if you didn't ask, were you one of the people that was interested? Because this is a quick, easy fix for so many problems. So that's my question of the day. I don't know if I addressed it in the explanation of how we did it. Make sure to watch on to the video itself. But there is nothing underneath this. There's no plastic. There's no barrier at all between the earth and the gravel and the brick, other than a little bit of crushed gravel. So hopefully I addressed that question. So that is my question of the day for you. Were you curious as to how exactly this was done?
Hello, everyone. Don't worry, Linda's here. Just thought I'd start by kind of giving you a look at everything as we go back to where she is. If you listen close, you can hear her snipping. But it's looking pretty good, wouldn't you say? We're gonna go real slow. Check out the bench. Nothing else obstructing it anymore. Just a nice place to sit. And she's snipping away. All the boxwood or topiaries look good. Even when it's not as pretty as it gets, it's still pretty cool. And then this is what Linda really wanted you to see. Hi, Linda.
Hello, Stuart. Can you tell a difference?
It looks good.
Because today we're going to do a tour of the after. And if you guys haven't already seen it, watch the one we put up, was that on Friday? We put up on Friday called the before, of the before and after, so you can really see the difference between how it looks now and how it looks and how it looked before. And if I'm a little bit out of breath, it's because I'm still working on some things kind of around the edges. The major work has been done, and you can see how beautiful I think things are starting to look. So now that it's cool enough, we were able to prune the boxwood hedge. Stuart, what do you think?
It looks really good.
Looks pretty amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely came back.
And also, you'll notice that the tarp is now down. So even though temperatures are between, let's say, 90 and 95, we are not in the hundreds anymore, which to me is a considerable improvement, much less it being 115.
Bring on the snow.
Yes, so, yeah, Stuart has done some snow images of this, some drone images when it snowed, and it was beautiful. And you can see that definitely it helped putting the tarp over it, but also that it's recovering pretty nicely. The only areas that need to recover now are some spaces on the interior a little bit, and also on the very edges, but even those are filling in. So overall, I'm very pleased. But I wanted to show you the after because my buddy and friend Victor and I spent a whole day and a half, and as always, it's a weekend, so there's blowers and things going. But we spent a whole day and a half, the two of us, working outside. And I finally, now I know some of you are going to say, oh my goodness, I need a Victor, or she's so lucky to have a Victor, and I am lucky to have a Victor to help me. But may I point out that I've been tending this garden for going on 35 years now, And for 33 and a half of those, I didn't have any help except for really extreme things. It's only now that I have help on certain garden projects. And Victor is the only person that in 35 years I have ever let prune the potager besides myself. Now, while he was doing that, I was doing other things. Things like this. This is a variegated golden euonymus that is actually a kind of a good climber, and it's been climbing up this post. But because this faces west, it too got sunburned, and I am cleaning that up. And I'm just using some of my, not my good Barnell clippers, but just some really tough clippers. And I'm pruning back some of the stuff along the ground, and then I'll come back with my rake and clean up this. So this is one of those little projects along the edges that I'll do in the margins of my day. But even these, I don't have very many projects like this. Not very many projects at all, and so I will feel really good when I'm leaving for the wedding that this stuff will look nice and tidy, because I like to leave things to the best of my ability, nice and tidy while I'm gone. So I'll finish this up later, but I did want to kind of just show you that these are the things I'm still working on. And Stuart, what'd you do with, you had a couple days off. What'd you do?
I went and played a poker tournament.
And how'd you do?
I finished 16th out of 250 people.
Well, that's awesome. Well done.
Not too bad. Not number one, but still made some money.
Well, what I approve about Stuart's playing poker is he always knows when to quit, so he always ends up on top. Is that a pretty good assessment?
Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, I guess is what you're saying.
Okay, so, yes, Kenny. So, some other things I did for the after, in addition to pruning this hedge, was my okra experiment in here really didn't work because the squirrels and cutworms, that no matter what I did, they
no okra for Stuart to steal.
No okra. There's one lonely plant. But I had so beautifully amended this soil that once all of this was clipped back and the tarp was removed, I was, mostly because Hubs kept asking me, why don't we have any basil? Why don't we have any basil? So I planted some basil from cuttings and also from some new starts. And actually it's going to do just fine because it is really getting established. However, I did come out this morning and 2 tufts had been dug up by some squirrels because I should have known better, and I had to put over some of those garden cloches. So, but the rest of this in the potager is pretty much done. And now again, it's just things on the margins. So let's talk a little bit about the things inside the potager. So right here, you can see now, because the temperatures have cooled, even though we haven't gotten much rain, now my vegetables are starting to be more protective. The eggplant has done great throughout the summer, but now this is called a sweet dragonfly pepper. This was an AAS, an American Select. Pretty. And these have really not been doing anything. Well, now these are getting flowers all over them, and I'm starting to get peppers. So what has been a trend for me is that it seems like every year more and more my summer vegetables are really fall vegetables. That's when they really begin to produce, because it finally gets cool enough when we get a little bit of rain for them to start producing things that I can harvest. During the summer they're getting their roots established and they just are trying to be tough enough to survive. I keep pinching back all sorts of the coleus. Stuart, look at all of those chili pie peppers there. Aren't they cute?
Coming that way.
I'm going to be roasting lots of peppers. The sunshine ligustrums
Oh,
have
you got
been
both of them. Did we ever show people that both of them, what they looked like with?
with two of them.
We did the one in the video.
Yeah, and I came back and did the other one, or we came back and did the other one.
I don't remember if we videoed that or not.
No, we did not.
Okay.
We did not. So now that's another after. There's a little bit of clippings in there I need to clean up. I want to talk a little bit about the arborvitas. These are emerald green arborvita. And one of the things I have noticed everywhere on social media is everybody in Oklahoma and in areas where it's been extremely hot have been talking about their arborvita and whether or not they were going to make it, and they have brown and such. And a friend of mine up in Tulsa talked to a nursery, and they said, don't prune them right now, just leave them until next spring, and hopefully they will have made it. And I think these have made it, but I am still going to go ahead and prune off any of the dead stuff because it's so brown it just crumbles anyway.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah, okay.
Well, one, how does not pruning it help it stay alive as opposed to pruning it?
Because it might need as much of its live foliage to photosynthesize.
Essentially food, right?
And for food to feed it, but also because it might force new growth that isn't either heat tempered or cold tempered. And you don't want it, it's just trying to survive, so you don't want it to have to put energy into also trying to put out new growth, because pruning forces new growth.
And then I have a second question.
Okay.
Why are you going to prune it anyway?
Well, when I say prune it anyway, I mean,
you're like, I'm going to take them off anyway.
You can at any time of year on any plant prune off dead stuff.
Okay, so
because
the dead stuff doesn't matter.
The dead stuff doesn't matter, and it will crumble away. And what that does is that's the stuff I'm pruning out because it will make the plant look more presentable.
So don't cut off live stuff.
Don't cut off the live stuff. But like on this one, see how much better it would look if I just kind of clipped out that dead just a little bit, just the dead part, not the new part. And I am an upcoming video you are going to want to watch, absolutely want to watch, is my 5 design choices I made in the past that I would not make again. And some of those I have just recently discovered. So you want to watch that so that you can benefit from my experience and my mistakes. So it's going to be 5 design decisions I would not make again. All of these peppers over here, look how happy they are. I have elevated some of them so that I have cheated to get height, but you can see all of the peppers, all of the eggplant. I love the little flowers on those eggplants. Definitely that's going to be a repeat in my garden.
See the
We've
little
been
guy?
eating lots of eggplant.
Can't get too close, but look
Icicle eggplant.
at him. Those are cool looking.
But here's another question or comment that I've gotten a lot that I really want to address. And that is, why don't I consider staining my entire fence to match like this post and this little fence and what I've got up front? Well, for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, practicality. Practicality and labor intensiveness. It would be extremely labor intensive and a little bit costly to stain the entire fence that now you see is just aged. And why would I do it on an older fence? If I was starting all over again, yes, I would. That's a practical decision. So yes, I would. But none of it was stained when this fence went in initially. So that was my thought process. Might I consider just staining this garden room and leaving the rest? Yes, I might. And at that point of transition between what would be stained and what wouldn't, I would then plant a great big holly that would obscure the transition zone, and it would look like just this zone was stained. But will I even do that? I'm not sure, because this fence ultimately will need to be replaced, and that would be throwing good money after bad. The other thing is, if I move in the next year or two, why spend a lot of money that someone else might later change? And so that's another, why throw good money after bad? So I just have to suck it up and live with things that are less than perfect for my ideal. One thing I probably will do, and why they didn't do it themselves, I don't know, but the neighbors on the back side did not stain the top cap to their fence. And why they didn't, I'm not sure. But I probably...
Looks like it's got something on it.
Yeah, I probably would stain that in my color so it would look more harmonious. So that is kind of that. And it never, none of this bothered me before when I had a top dressing of the Virginia creeper that grew along the top of the fence that I was always complaining about. But when they put in their fence, then that changed everything. And that's the other thing. You just have to roll with your punches, because you never know what Mother Nature or what your neighbors might do. They've got every right to do that. So I have to deal with it on my side and make some aesthetic decisions along the way to judge accordingly. So in here, I think it looks pretty nice. I'm still moving some pots around. I'm probably not going to do too much more zhuzhing back here since this fall.
I like waving and reflections.
You like waving and reflections? So FYI, just to remind you, there is my tarp. I will save it for next year. And over there is my post that was kind of like my circus tent support in the center, is over there with a tennis ball on it so it could float. But now I am happy to say that is down. Stuart kind of misses it, but it does feel more open, and things have started, with additional sunlight, they have started being more productive.
Actually, it looked pretty nice with it up.
I know it did look
It's more
nice.
function than form, but yeah.
Absolutely, it looked nice, and that's one of my favorite things, when beautiful form meets function.
And I like shade.
So, and you like shade. So right now, this looks good, and normally when it gets time for fall, if I was going to be doing a fall garden tour, I would have pumpkins and things on this table here. I may or may not this year, because I've got so many wedding obligations, which are very, very happy. Okay, so let's go this way a little bit. And you guys, I've already talked about top dressing with gravel and what I did. I am not going to worry too much about this area not being graveled, because of some plans I have for a different project later. So I'm not going to worry about that. But I think it looks nice, all re-graveled.
Are there hydrangeas blooming over there?
The hydrangeas are starting to bloom a little bit. These really took it on the chin because it was so hot. I lost one of them. There was also an issue with a sprinkler head I didn't notice till later. So this area still needs a little work, but we're not concentrating on the ugly still, Stuart. We're concentrating on the pretty afters. Okay, so this is one of my favorite things. So for those of you that did not like my design decision to have that lamandra in here, this is when you get your revenge, because I put one of these gorgeous new Southern Living plants in here. And normally I don't leave the tags on, but I'm going to show you because I love the way it looks, and it has that autumn vibe I love.
Burning love.
Lucato, we couldn't remember how to pronounce that, burning love, but it's beautiful in here. I love the way it cascades. And then I put a tutor in here that I had, and I just replaced it in here as a vertical element. And right now I just set the pot in there. I may or may not plant it permanently, because I may want to put something else in there for spring, but right now I am loving the way this looks. I re-graveled all of this area over here behind you, Stuart.
Coming that way.
And removed a lot of pots. Another thing that really took it on the chin this year were all of my geraniums. I was looking back at pictures from a year ago and they were still blooming beautifully, but right now they're all just trying to recover. Most of them I put in the plant hospital, in ICU, and what that means is just on the driveway, congregated together, where they will get lots of attention until they look pretty, and then they can come back out again into the real world. So let's do just, if you would, just do a quick span of how pretty this area looks. Or at least I think it looks pretty. Maybe
I don't think you're the only one.
I think it looks beautiful right now. For the fact that the kind of summer we had. All of my boxwood balls held up, at least the ones in the ground did. They look great. I've moved some pots around. And then, because I just am too impatient, I think I showed you before how I created these stands. I did give them all kind of just a whisper of black spray paint so the finish on the stands would look the same. I showed you how I had prepared them with burlap and some grow bags, and then I had started my coleus cuttings in there, but I just couldn't resist. I had to see what they were going to look like when they were at least partially done.
I love those pink guys.
And these are freshly planted, and by the time these put on a week or two of growth, they will be resplendent and really cascade down the side and be full, almost 360. All of the coleus cuttings that I put in there will be happy and established and beautiful. I put some gomphrena in here.
Yes.
I say gomphrena, this is Celosia. And I put this in here because I've got some of it in the back flower bed. These were pots. And I love this color because I thought my final decision was to use some kind of lavender mums in here. Now, right now, since these are freshly planted, they all look a little bit too uptight. They both look a little too uptight to me, but once they grow out some, they will be gorgeous. And I am feeding them heavily just with like a liquid Miracle Grow and things, because these are plantings I consider temporary. Once I decide to deconstruct them, I can put the sedums out in the flower beds, I can put the mums in the flower beds, but for right now, I think they look beautiful. Any pockets that need to be filled, I will probably fill with lime green and white striped gourds and white gourds, no oranges in here. Maybe some lavender things, but I am not going to give those dastardly squirrels the satisfaction of putting them out now when I'm not going to be here to protect them, because I know as soon as I put one out, those squirrels would be here in a heartbeat. So I think these look pretty. Stuart, what do you think?
I think they look really pretty. And didn't the squirrels even get to the pumpkins that you sprayed with some sort of stuff?
Yes,
like,
they did.
That's crazy.
Yes, and we came up with some different solutions I'm gonna have to look at again. But right now I think that these look beautiful. The heucherellas, I put some Southern Living heucherellas in here. They're still complaining a little bit at being moved, but in short order, these will be gorgeous, and they get just the right amount of sun here, I think. And all of this is so much more opened up. Right now, these little Miss Figgies, and I've got an olive tree here. These will move back to the potager once it gets a little bit cooler. And here are some more changes to the bistro. Stuart is so good about moving the camera slowly. It's starting to get hot. So changes to the bistro. I finally potted up my last little conifer that will complete my little forest that will be darling in the winter time. I decided to transition this whole area. I put up all of the amaryllis that were growing in large pots over here because it's time to stop watering your amaryllis and put them in. Don't water them anymore. Don't feed them anymore. Just let them start drying out either in or out of the pots that they're in. So I moved those into the garage. Because I loved these so much, I planted another one.
Is that the hunka burning love?
The hunka burning love. I planted another one here because we love it. I'm anxious to see what these do. And because it just is a great drop-in autumnalized plant, and I think that's just wonderful. So I dropped it in here along with one of these Obsession Nandinas. Now these are actually planted in here and probably will remain. You will ask me, will I keep these in over the winter? And yes, I will, unless it gets so extremely cold that I think I need to bring them in at least temporarily. Some of the boxwoods that I transplanted from the back, they have suffered some, and they are still adjusting, but I will keep clipping out the dead, and I think they will recover nicely, especially because they're large enough and they had a pretty good root ball. So this doesn't look perfect as I would like, but it will get a little bit of help, and I think by the time we are ready to sit out here and light a little fire in the fire pit, I think they will be fine. I spread out all of the chairs because I have more room to do so. I have not done it because Stuart is using the camera and I am talking, but as soon as we're finished, I'm going to have him help me move that bird bath over a little bit. I'll clean it out and fill it up because I love the way it will be perfectly arched by this viburnum here. So now moving around to the area that I don't know how many requests I got. Please show us, show us, show us. Because sometimes you guys complain that I talk and I don't show you. So this area, you may recall, and by the way, we have a hose attached here for something else we're going to show you later. But I had probably a 30-year-old ewe in here that suffered, and finally I just decided it was time to let it go to the big compost pile in the sky. We took it out. Then I had this whole area, because before that ewe came all the way out to here. Amazingly enough, it came all the way out to here and all around here. When I recaptured this space, I was able to move the table over some, so now I have much more room. Did you even notice that? Now you can tell. I have much more room all around. So then I thought, well, if I really want to make this usable, walkable, treadable space, then I probably want to continue with a design solution I have used before, and I took my own advice. You guys have seen where in the bistro and in front of the garden bench, I laid some herringbone brick and more flagstone so that it would very harmoniously blend in with what was existing. And Stuart, had I not told you, would you realize, save maybe because there's a dirt clump right there, but would you have known that we just did this?
No. Other than the fact that I do know, no, I wouldn't have known, because it does fit right in, yeah.
There is a little bit of a grade, that's okay, that's for drainage, but we're gonna show you exactly how Victor and I did it. Now, true confessions, Victor did most of it because I was filming him, and also because he could do it 10 times as fast as I could because he's stronger, and it was still so dry under here. So what would have taken me hours took him no time at all, with the exception, did I tell you this, Stuart, that we had another crisis on the street?
No.
And whenever anybody has a crisis during the day, they usually come to my house. So a neighbor 2 doors down had an irrigation issue, let's just say. And it had been running for 3 hours and he couldn't figure out how to get it to stop.
Oh, wow.
So he came down here to ask Victor and I if we could come and help. So he was running down the street to see if anybody was home. And people always come by here first. So we had a little bit of an interruption. We went down there, we helped him out, and then we came back here and finished it up. But I think it looks very, very nice.
It does.
And then I loved the way this Burn in Love, which may become one of my new Southern Living plants, Stuart, we've got to put a link, that I didn't even request. Karina sent this to me because she knows my taste. She knew I would love it. And it looks great in this basket as a pedestal, but it would look great as a hanging plant. Talk about a simple composition. If you wanted to just do a very, very easy autumnal display, plop one of these pots into, plastic pots into a regular container. You can order these online. You'll probably start seeing them at your garden centers now. Just plop them in, and then how gorgeous to just pluck some gourds in there, some little pumpkins, some different things, some berries, some ripened or unripened Nandina berries would be beautiful in here. Talk about easy. You could have 2 on either side of your front door, and then you could plant them after the season was over. So that might be my favorite container suggestion for the year, would be to do that.
Do they have what blooms or anything? What do they do?
Well, it doesn't even say that on the tag, but obviously there is, because it had, that one looked like it did. So we're going to have to keep an eye out, and I'm going to have to read the tag. I honestly don't care.
Yeah, no, it looks good as it is.
Because I love the delicacy of it, and I can also tell you right now, how gorgeous would it be if I clipped this branch and then I stuck it into a flower arrangement to cascade over the side. So it hits all my buttons. It works in sun or shade. It is gorgeous, usually evergreen. You can plant it to zone 6. It has beautiful cascading form. It looks great as an architectural and form and color contrast to clipped boxwood. You can use it in the vase. It's pest resistant, so I think it's going to be a keeper, and maybe will replace one of the things I'm not going to grow anymore, which I'll share later in my design tips. Okay, in here I loved the way my red geraniums looked for years against my wood pile. They reminded me of my second mother, but they had been in there so long, and finally after this summer I just decided that it was their time to go. So I had lots of clippings of this elephant bush that came off of the elephant bush that I had in a different area, and I stuck them in there, and they are doing just fine. And yes, those will have to come in the winter time. And then the other things are they're kind of just holding their own. So now let's come over here. Oh, excuse me. Let's go back to this section for a minute, because you guys will catch me on it. You always notice things. Something else I did, because I didn't want this to scream, you just took out a big shrub. I wanted the negative space and more room to navigate, which there is when that hose isn't there, but I also didn't want it to look as if I had just made a big change. I wanted it to look organic to what already existed. So one thing I did, because I love them so much, is I put back in there one of the sections, a tree trunk section that came off of, you may notice I've got some of them around, and I saved some to use for occasions like this. Can you see it back in there, Stuart?
I don't think I did before.
It has a certain hobbit-like quality that I like. I like the fact that it came from my beloved oak up front, but it will also serve as just a little place that in the nighttime I can put a lantern, I can put some additional light back in there, and that gives me a little pedestal to kind of elevate it. And then this is domino gardening and steal from Peter to pay Paul. So back in here you'll see that there are 2 small Utopia yews, and those are a Southern Living plant. And I'm going to talk more about those in an upcoming video and my relationship with yews. So those weren't there. I took those out of some pots on the back porch, which I will show you, so that they could kind of cover up the now bare legs of these Japanese yews that are growing vertically and didn't take quite as much of a hit. So now they look very consonant with what was going on. And then the other thing I did was I tucked one of those Obsession Nandinas in here in the transition zone between the brick and the stones, and I've got Obsession Nandinas on the other side of the bed, so it looks like it was there in the as intentional design to begin with. It softens this transition, and then I will put just a little bit more gravel in there in that area that isn't graveled, and it will look, I think, like it's been there forever. So let me know what you think, and if you like that. So here is where I took, now excuse that we've got cords and stuff, but I had a boxwood up here. If you go back and look at the video before, I had a boxwood up here, and I had 2 of those Utopia yews in these 2 pots. I decided that I just wanted more of a wall of contrast, and Southern Living sent me these Touch of Gold hollies, which I absolutely adore. They will do well. It says part shade, and in Oklahoma, part shade really means mostly shade. And this area is mostly shade over here. So they'll get enough sun, I believe, to keep them golden, but they'll be happy in this condition. We planted them in these pots. I had a 3rd round globe boxwood, which is now over in that area in front of the office. Then the last thing I did, I lived with it for as long as I could, hoping it would recover. But I had a transplanted boxwood cone in here that I kept thinking would finally recover. And I think it just couldn't, it was suffering too much from the transplant this year and also from the brutal summer. So I put in one of these gorgeous Oakland hollies, one of my very favorite plants. This grows in full sun to part shade. This area is part shade. It does a better job of obscuring the utilities here, and I really like it. And then somebody remarked that my back porch looked not too cluttered, but they said too full, and I agreed. So I removed a number of the things on my plant stand. I do like having a plant stand here. I do like seeing these plants before I go in, and it helps me have a spot of color here. But I reduced the number of them that I had, and this will be a fun place. And it's also just handy from a practical standpoint. I like this being here so I can set things down as I go in and as I go out. And so this may not seem like it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of work. It took me quite a while just to get those planters planted. And Stuart, if you can just gently back up to this point.
Oh, stay that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
Follow me. Here, Stuart, I'll pull you.
There you go. That's how
Pull
you do it in the camera
over
world.
over here, to the left, to the left.
Exactly how we do it in the camera
Yeah.
world.
You can see that when people come in this door, that focal point of those pots is going to be right there when they come in that gate. And then I may or may not put some gourds or pumpkins at the base down there. That has yet to be determined. But for a summer of, I don't know how many days, over 100 degrees, my design philosophy has really held up. And that is, things look pretty good, relying so heavily on line, shape, and form. Now, here are some words you thought I would probably never say, but I'm going to say them while I'm straightening this because this bothers me. After doing all of this work over the past 3 days, I'm sick of gardening. I really am. I'm not sick of my garden, but I'm sick of gardening. I've gotten just about everything I wanted to do done with just a few little things along the perimeter, but I'm tired now. We've done a lot of work. I'm very appreciative that I had help, but now I'm ready to just sit and enjoy it for a little while, dine outside, sit out here in the cool of the morning and watch the dragonflies and the butterflies and the birds, because I'm not gonna lie, it's been a lot of work. But this is why I love small gardens, or relatively small gardens. It was possible for me to pretty much, and I'll save the front yard for later, I was able to pretty much do this in 2 solid days of gardening. If it had just been me, I could have done it in 3 solid days of gardening, or a long weekend. And then it's all pretty much done to my satisfaction. No way could I have done that if I had a larger garden. And I tell myself that when I get jealous of larger gardens, like Laura's at Garden Answer, or Aaron's at Impatient Garden, or Klaus Dalby's, or some larger, beautiful, more productive gardens, because I like a certain degree of tidiness and order, and I wouldn't be able to manage that in a large garden. So I just need to learn to be satisfied, and right now I am very satisfied with how things look. And pretty soon I can already feel fall in the air, especially in the mornings. It is cooler. Before long I'll be out here listening to football games and working in the office and piddling, and it will be just wonderful. So Stuart, have I forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, then I'm gonna just go inside, refresh in my ice water, and come back out and enjoy my garden. Well, here you go, my outfit of the day, starting from top to bottom. My sunglasses are my Ray-Ban aviators that I love so much. My earrings are, I can't remember where I got these, maybe Ulta. I've had them for years, as I have had this dress. It is a Sundance sundress that I got secondhand, and I can't remember if it was Poshmark or eBay. I bought it about 5 years ago to wear to my niece Annie's wedding in Indiana. It was a really fun farm-to-table wedding reception, and it was comfortable to dance in. And since I'm kind of working outside, I've got just some of my cloud sandals that I love so much. Stuart, do you love yours?
I do.
Yes, I got Stuart a black pair. I got my hubs a black pair also. My bracelet I did get at Ulta, and I've had it for years. And finally, I want to comment on my water bottle. Now, this was in the room of a resort that we went to, and it's refillable, and once we drank it, we just took the bottle with us, because it is lightweight and it's portable, and it keeps your water so cold. But why am I so enthusiastic about these? Well, there is a new brand of water, and I'm not sure what it's even called. It's called like Death Water or something. Why? Yeah. I'm not sure. But you can pretty soon, if not already, you'll be able to buy it like your 7-Elevens and things like that.
Sorry,
and it
7-Eleven.
Is it? Okay, and it comes in one of these aluminum reusable cans. And aluminum is eminently recyclable. It's not plastic. It keeps your water 10 times colder. And we have reused these, I don't know how long, and we keep these in the refrigerator all the time. So that's kind of a weird amendment to my outfit of the day. But these, you guys, are great, and I highly recommend that water. And we'll try to observe next time we go to a place that has it, that we come up with the name of it. I can't remember, but this is a new discovery for me, and I really can't stand plastic water bottles. Like I say, I'm seldom an absolutist. If as a last resort, I will use them, but boy, this is the superior alternative. So there you go. There is my outfit of the day.